Hi, YouTube. It's Kathy Michelle again, and I'm being joined again with Sophia.
Hi, everybody.
And we finally have part 2 of the blood analysis done, and that's what we're going to be going over tonight. Depending on how this discussion goes, we may or may not do a video after this one to really bring home the points about the blood analysis and the areas where it shows that there's somebody else's blood there and it doesn't belong to David or Kamel or Rania. So we are going to get started with the slide presentation, and hopefully you all can see that. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Wait. There we go. I'm just going to move us out of the way here real quick while we go through the slides.
Okay.
Okay. And here we go. Blood analysis part 2. In item 38, we have the push keys from the gun safe, as you can see. And we have this one in negative, not because we expected to see blood, because we know there wasn't any blood, but it's to show that there wasn't blood present on the gun safe. And on item number 38, on the push keys, we have a mixture of 2 or more individuals. We know Kamel is included. No one is excluded. However, it does not match David or Rania. So it doesn't match David or Rania. It matches Kamel, but a mixture of 2 or more. Now, I know that you had, let's see, let me see if I can get us back. Here we go. Sophia, I know that, let me stop sharing, that you had a lot of information that relates to the push keys. Do you want to go over some of that right now?
I'm just going to sum it up. Basically, I found every page that mentions the gun safe, and there was basically, they're saying that the master bedroom, there was no signs of blood inside the master bedroom. So there's no blood on the push keys. This would have to have been skin cells, sweat, something that was transferred onto the push keys from Kamel and to other individuals, possibly. Page 23 from the Apple Valley police reports, this is the redacted one that mentions it. If you go through the data request, page 106, doesn't mention any blood. Page 155 doesn't mention any blood. That's also from the data request from the BCA. Page 468, data request, BCA doesn't mention blood. And they did swab it, but they just didn't find any blood on it. They did 2 swabs.
Correct. And, and I think it's really good and important that you are pointing out that even in the, the BCA report, where they put together this entire little report, and they list in there, no blood was found in the bedroom. So that would include the push keys, because we know that there have been some who've been trying to say that there was blood on the push keys as well as other items, but clearly it states no blood in the bedroom.
And wasn't there, I'm trying to find that one page that mentions all the ones that, well, like the BCA lab report, page 17, it lists everything that says apparent blood.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that tested positive for blood, it will have apparent blood on it for the description. Like, for instance, the Springfield XD40, which is the gun, item number 1, it says apparent blood on it. 3 bullets, item 42, 43, 44. Actually, it doesn't say apparent blood on that one, I'm sorry, but the book, apparent blood on it. Item 11 and item 12, which was on the wall that says Allah Akbar, apparent blood.
Mhm.
And then further on down, then it says swabs of blood stains, everything for that. It's funny how they just changed the wording for it. It says swabbing of blood stain and then apparent blood for the first items.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the proper, by the book, it should say apparent because that's just the proper way of writing it, but maybe whoever was doing it, maybe they were just learning, maybe a trainee or something.
And then I got both handwritten notes. So when they were at the crime scene at that time, and then when they're at the lab writing the notes before everything was written up in the final report. But that's basically everything that they're talking about. Page 26, DNA profiling was also performed on item 38. A sample was collected from 45. So they're just doing item profiling, but they also did the loci test.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and so basically we know according to the reports and what they've written is that the push keys was not blood, it was DNA that they obtained, like Sophia was saying, from the push keys. So you know that they're touching that, so it's got to come from the hands, either skin cells or sweat or something. So,
Yeah.
but it was not blood.
And we just need to reiterate that nuclear DNA, which is what they were testing for, is much more than just blood.
Yes.
It is body fluid, skin cells, bone, hair, tissue, hair that has tissue at the roots. I mean, it's just so much more. So, and then like with the STR PCR testing, which is the loci test, as they could use all of that was collected, the skin cells, the bone, the tissue, blood, all of that for those types of tests. It's so anyway.
Okay. And oh, look, we just got started and I already got notification that they're that we are running out of time. It's like, really, come on, guys. Jeez. We may have to
stop and start.
Yep, and I will have no problem doing that. Okay, what is going on with this?
Okay, so I think that was about it for item 38 then.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out why the screen share was not working again. It's not letting me do it.
There we go.
But it's not letting me go into, let me.
Oh, okay.
Let me stop this. I don't know. It's like it froze. Oops.
Well, we can pause right here if you want. And
okay. Yeah. I think I got it now. We'll see. But you're right. Let's try it, folks. And if this doesn't work, we're going to pause it and then we will come back with a new meeting and
there we go.
current slide. Okay, there we go. So now we're on to the next item. Hopefully we can get number 41. Okay, item 41, the DNA test results, which is, it's from the Notepad in the office. Again, mixture of 2 or more individuals. Kamel is included, but here we have David and Rania are excluded. Mixture of 2 or more. We're back to the same thing again, and this is what we want to go over time and time again, and to show you guys that there is blood from, or DNA, not necessarily blood, but there's DNA from someone else there in that office. I mean, in the house. Item 42, the bullet. And item 42-1, its DNA is indicated as female, not enough genetic material to know if there are any minor contributors. We know Kamel is included. David and Ronnie are excluded, but that's only one indicated one as female. And when I click on the attachments, are you seeing that as well? Or are you just still
Yes.
seeing the bullet? Okay.
I'm seeing the bullet right now, but then you go back to the DNA results.
Okay, so when I go this, you see this, the DNA results as well? Good,
Yes.
okay, perfect. And 44, which is also another an area of a bullet, single source DNA. It single source, since it matches Kamel, does not match David and Ronnie are excluded. And we're going to go ahead and pause it right here. You guys probably won't really know much, but we're going to pause here because we're going to exit and come back in because our meeting on Zoom is going to stop anyway. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back and we're going to go ahead and pick up again with item number 45. We will go over that one more time. And oh, oops, sorry, my bad. Current slide. Okay, and 45 again, it's the bullet. Oh, 45, we know that there's no DNA. It's the bullet from the south wall in the basement. So there was nothing found. There's nothing of any value on that whatsoever. 53, this is the bullet that was found when the cleaning crew was rolling up the rug. And when they did the test on that, again, it came back as a mixture of 2 or more. On this one, Rania is included and David and Kamel are excluded. Another mixture of 2 or more where 2 of the family members are excluded. And number 57, that's the one in the attic that was found a month later. And on that one, this one just shows up as male DNA, not enough for minor contributors. And it matches, it was David is included, but yet they state it does not match, but they cannot exclude Kamel and Rania. However, it only indicates as male DNA. So again, that's one of those weird wording things. And why couldn't they exclude Kamel and Rania if it only shows up as a male DNA profile? I have no idea. Not sure how all that works.
And
but
it just gets a little bit more technical because they're recreating. It's the same thing as with the push buttons on the gun safe. It was a loci test that they ran on that because the regular nuclear DNA test was not enough for them. They didn't have enough DNA when they swabbed it. And so they had to recreate that screen over and over and over. And the major profile was a male profile. They had 2 others, but it just wasn't enough for them to be able to rule out.
Okay, and so maybe, I'll toss this out there. I have no idea about this whatsoever, just kind of what popped into my head, because we all know that we all have genetic components from our mothers and our fathers. So the paternal DNA aspect, maybe that's why they couldn't necessarily exclude them, because there wasn't enough to determine whether it was coming from their paternal side or not. I'm just tossing that out there. So maybe that's why they weren't excluded, but it didn't match. I don't know.
And if we're thinking logically, if this bullet did kill David, huge if with quotation marks, why would Ronnie's blood or DNA be on that? And why would Kamel's DNA be on it?
Exactly, especially since it ended up in the attic.
Yeah. There's no reason for their DNA to be on it. Anyway.
Not at all. Okay, and now we're going to just do an overview of the DNA results. And here again, on 1A, it's from the gun, mixture of 2 or more. David is included, Kamel is excluded. Rania cannot be included or excluded. Number 1B, it's from the magazine, mixture of 2 or more. David is in.
Catherine, we're
Yes.
only seeing 38 through 57.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I
You're
was just going over the whole entire thing, but you're right. Let's stick with 38. Okay. So 38 is a mixture of 2 or more individuals. Come on, highlight that one. And we know that that mixture of 2 or more individuals, it includes Kamel, and David and Rania cannot be included or excluded. Number 41, which is a bullet. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Number 41 is the notepad. I'm just like half asleep today here, folks, is the notepad from the office. And that notepad is a mixture of 2 or more individuals. On that one, Kamel is included. David and Rania are excluded.
Can I
Again,
just point out that David was writing in this notepad and supposedly had flipped through the pages and had left his fingerprint on this notepad, but his DNA is excluded.
yeah, and exactly. And so he's supposedly touching this notepad, which is where they're getting this blood sample from, you know, and if it's his fingerprint with this blood, yeah, why is he excluded? He shouldn't be. His DNA should have been picked up, but yet he's excluded. And yet there are a mixture of 2 or more individuals.
Yeah.
Who's the other? Okay, number 42 is a bullet from the living room. That one, DNA indicated as female, not enough genetic material to know if there are any minor contributors. We know the major is Kamel is included, and David and Rania are excluded, but that one is just single source. Same with number 43, the other bullet indicates as female, not enough to show any minors, but we know Kamel is included. David and Rania are excluded. Number 44, a bullet, single source DNA. Basically, I would think the same thing. Kamel is included, David and Rania are excluded. Number 45, which is the bullet in the basement wall, no DNA whatsoever found on any of it. Number 53, oh my God. How did I get 17 out of 53? Heaven only knows.
Oh, because it's item 17 for the for the list.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. It is. My brain. The bullet found a few days later, the next day, mixture of 2 or more individuals. Rania is included. David and Kamel are excluded. Number 57, the bullet in the attic that was found a month later. Male DNA profile. It matches David. Kamel and Rania cannot be excluded. So as we're going through this, 38, mixture of 2 or more, only Kamel. Number 41, mixture of 2 or more, only Kamel. So we have someone else who's contributing here. There's another person's DNA that does not match David, does not match Rania, but they're picking it up throughout all of these blood tests that they're doing on not all, but on a lot of these DNA. They're testing and they're coming up with a mixture of 2 or more people, and the other 2 in the family are excluded. Who is contributing that DNA?
And when they do the percentage, they say a certain percent throughout the world, but they're not including those related. And, you know, we're just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and that is something that should have been done. And again, it's not necessarily testing it because they're now saying, or we're saying a family member did this. Don't put those words in our mouth. What we're saying is that if a family member's DNA was picked up in this test, in all of these tests and it's someone related to the two of them, they need to find that and then exclude them from even being part of that crime scene. It's highly important that they be completely cleared. But as of the stands right now, we have one or two other individuals present that we know does not, has to be someone related, because we know that they've ruled out 99% of the population, but they haven't ruled out family members.
And we know that family has been inside their house. I mean, it's very possible that somebody could have touched these items at one time, or sneezed on them, coughed on them, left DNA.
Yep.
And with the type of DNA testing that was done on the push keys, the notepad, David's bullet, Ronnie's bullet, they also did the STR PCR loci test, which is highly sensitive. And it very well could have picked up DNA from months, years, however long ago. And that's why they probably didn't get enough of it, because it was degraded at that time. And I mean, it's very easily could be debunked if they would have taken those extra steps to get blood tests from these people and, get an explanation, but they didn't do that.
Yes. And from someone who's on the outside looking in, and I'm looking at all of these results, my first question is again, you don't want to sit there and jump to the conclusion that, okay, this automatically is a family member and they're guilty. Okay, so go check out the family members. That I think is not only irresponsible, but it's, pretty much unconscionable to jump to that conclusion. However, when you're looking at something that is not 100%, I mean, we can't say with 100% certainty that it wasn't a family member, but we can't say and accuse and say it was. But here, these tests, if they had gone to the family members and said, hey, can we check your DNA? We're finding, because they're in this crime scene, they're trying to say David is guilty, and this is his home. His DNA should be everywhere within this home. Let me stop sharing this real quick so we could be there. And not only is his DNA missing from critical pieces of evidence where it should be all over, if he were the guilty party, if he were the perpetrator, it should be there. It is absent. It's not there, but yet there's somebody else's DNA that is, according to their results and how we're reading it, has to be related, because they've ruled out everyone who is unrelated.
Yeah.
That leaves the door wide open.
For the cell phone, the laptop, that supposedly was the note, I will always love you, or whatever it says.
I have loved you all with all my heart.
Yeah, there we go. Which does sound like Kamel, to be honest with you, and what she's written before. And then when you get the notepad in the office, the prints that are on the floor, the 3 prints, and then the blood on the wall, all of those come back as Kamel. Mm-hmm. And none of them come back with David's DNA in it. So there should be some of his DNA in it, especially since we did not see gloves at the scene. We did, not that they couldn't have been thrown away, but why not take the rest of the trash out while you're at it?
Yeah.
I just...
And like you have pointed out numerous times in several videos that we've done, they're trying to convince us, the general public, that David took Camille's blood in his hand and was writing on the wall. That type of pressure is going to leave so much of his DNA. It's not even funny. His DNA should be everywhere on that wall, but yet it only comes back as her single source female DNA, Camille.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with the cell phone. I mean, that his DNA should be all over that cell phone.
Yep.
That notebook, that was in their house for years, because they had budgets, they had recipes, they had all kinds of notes and everything that they were writing over years. And well, I mean, they haven't lived in that house for years. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. His DNA should be there. It should be. He's probably sneezed on it, yawned, you know, sometimes you spit a little if you yawn, depending.
Well, you're constantly spewing it, whether you want to admit it or not. Every time we're talking, there are fine mist of droplets coming out and it's landing on every surface. So yes, you would expect to find his DNA all over the, I mean, it's his house. He lived there. And yet it is weird. His DNA is missing from just about everything.
And the average person sloughs off between 40 and 400,000 skin cells per day. You know, his DNA should be there.
Mm-hmm.
He's flipping through those pages. He's writing on those pages. He's probably, you know, pushed his hand across these. You know, just, I know my DNA would be all over the notebook I have right here, but we're not seeing it. It should have been picked up on that swab. It doesn't just pick up blood. It's not that. It's not like that.
Right. And again, you know, to reiterate, DNA is the strands, your genetic code, your ACTGs, the genetic code that makes it up a human, makes anything what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's contained within a nucleus of a cell, and that cell that contains that nucleus can be part of just about every part of the human body. So that DNA can be dropped from just about anything that the human body has. You know, you can transfer spit, blood, tears. We've been through this a million times.
Yeah,
it's just not blood. In fact, DNA can only really be found in the new blood cells, you know, unless you go to break down maybe some white blood cells, but they generally, you know.
Yeah, not found in red blood cells.
Yeah, the red blood cells, it's the immature red blood cells. When it's mature, they no longer have a nucleus because their whole job mainly is then to carry the oxygen. But in those new cells, which are constantly being recreated in the large, like in your bone marrow from your legs, your femur bones and stuff, the larger bones of your body, you know, it's constantly reproducing and replenishing. But there will be DNA, and I do believe in the white blood cells. It's been a while, but still, we know that they get DNA from blood. We know that they get DNA from cells of the hands, from your sweat. Like, I don't know how many times Sophia has pointed out and has listed this numerous times, that by now, the people who aren't getting it, who shall remain nameless, you need to get it. You need to understand it's not just blood. And if something is swabbed and they pick up DNA from that, does not mean that it was blood every single time. Yeah. So again, we're not going to beat a dead horse. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I don't know how much clearer you could actually make it. You've done the best you can. So let me, we have just, and here we are basically one last time. We're asking this question one last time. Can you see this? Oops, I missed it now. Sorry. Come on. So the screen sharing windows stopped, right? The screen share?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back here because I messed up. Let me get back to that. That's the last slide. Okay. There we go. Now we'll do the screen share. Okay, the DNA results, what we see. As you can see, the DNA results do not provide the needed information as to whom could be involved in this crime. All we know is there appears to be DNA from someone else. There are 2 items where the mixture of 2 or more excludes 2 of the family members. In this section, 2 or more, but not altogether there are more. However, the other person or persons involved are not identified, with the exception of ruling out everyone who is not related. There could be a reasonable explanation regarding the related individuals to whom this blood appears to belong, yet further testing was not completed. The ABPD didn't even request blood samples to rule out any family members. And that's that's the end of this presentation, but that's our whole point. This is what we are trying to stress when we're looking at everything that this crime scene is showing us. We don't have the bullet that killed David. We don't have it. And the one that supposedly killed Rania is actually in question as well, mainly because not enough material was found on it. It was scant. They did find, however, it was also rolling out of a rug. So could it, any half-decent attorney in a court of law could say that rolled through blood on the rug. So where's hers? You know, there's nothing to prove that that one actually, unfortunately, went through her poor little head. The ones for Kamel, the 3 with her on it, it's obvious. You can see the hair and everything else wrapped up in that. So it's obvious. Those ones were the ones that did kill her, or at least went through her head. But we have David's DNA missing. We have the bullet that killed David missing. We have nothing at that crime scene that shows high velocity blood spatter. At the crime scene, we see medium velocity blood spatter. We see passive blood spatter. We also see evidence of blunt force trauma. We see evidence of a skull piece that has straight edges. So we have a crime scene that's telling us a story that someone was hit with some type of blunt force, which caused the blood patterns, all evidenced by what we see. We have bullets, but we have David missing from almost the entire scene. His blood is present on the magazine of the gun, but that is inside the gun. So we know that didn't come from him, because we know that he didn't have, supposedly, according to the narrative, he was not injured prior to shooting himself. So how did his blood get in a fingerprint on the magazine inside the gun after he's dead?
I do have a question because this is not very clear. When they give percentages, are they giving the percentages for the major profile, or are they giving percentages for the minor profiles?
I'm from reading everything I've read, I've gathered, and I'm thinking it's the major profiles. I'm not sure if they even had enough at any time to really talk about minor profiles. Most of the time, it's not enough genetic material to know for any minors.
And the major profile would have been David, Kamel, and Ronnie, because those are the ones that they had to test.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Those were the 3 at the scene, the victims. So yes, those would have been the major that they were looking for.
So, okay, never mind. We'll discuss it more off air, but just something that I need to do more digging on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, again, I'm going to go from the beginning, and to clarify, we have the items that have a mixture of 2 or more individuals where someone is excluded is item 1A, and I believe that's the trigger. 1B, which is the magazine, the knife. Then we have item 35, which is the cell phone. We have item 38, which is the push keys. We have item 41, which is the notepad. And then we have item 53. That's 7 pieces, 7 individual pieces of evidence out of the, out of the 15. So half, almost half of the evidence shows another person at the scene. Over half of that, or 3/4 that evidence, proves it doesn't have David's DNA at all. Actually, probably 90%, because it only comes on 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
So 90% of the evidence excludes David. How is he guilty? I'm scratching my head, folks. And if you guys have anything to add to this or can explain how someone who supposedly commits a crime and yet all of their DNA is absent from the crime scene, please explain. I'd love to hear it. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, for me, it's clear that David is not guilty from these test results, but other people see it a different way.
And you know, and I get that too. I hear that from a lot of people, and I see comments like, he's guilty, he did this, he did that. And the minute we're like, okay, here's the evidence, here's, like tonight we're showing, here's the evidence they have given to the public. This evidence is showing you he's not there. His blood, his DNA, his hair, his skin, nothing's there. So
Yeah.
how could he have done this?
You know,
There's
and
nothing.
then,
Yeah.
well, we look at the crime scene too, where we see the blood spatter, and that's showing a totally different story than what we've been told. And we'll get more into that in our next recording, but what we have to show you is it is very clear that something else happened at that crime scene and we're not being told about it. And this is not a conspiracy. You could go and Google these types of blood spatter and you'll see for yourself. It's medium, it's low velocity, passive blood drops. Where's the high velocity blood? Where's Camel's blood from where she was laying? It should be there.
Yep.
But it's not. You know, the dog isn't going to lick it up and completely remove it from the rug.
Yeah. And we know that's not true. And because it's awfully convenient that this poor dog got blamed for everything. So the dog conveniently only licked up the high velocity blood spatter from 4 gunshot wounds, but left all of the other blood spatter alone. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so this is why we're doing this piece by piece. And what we've brought up before is there are no blood stains on the rug where these victims were lying. So that shows their bodies were moved. The drawings and the descriptions from the police officers show that even after they got there, the bodies were moved. We have photographic evidence where they were moving evidence as they're taking photos, something they should never have done. We have evidence that these bodies were missing a lot of their blood. Was it prior to death, after death? Don't know. We don't know. But what we do know, it's not at the scene. Now we're going through the parts. We've gone through everything that they have tested. Now we're going to do another recording that will show everything that was gathered, but then wasn't tested. So they did take more samples, but that weren't tested. But they had 15 samples, only 15 that they tested. And of that 15, only 2 items contain David's DNA. Again, one being the bullet that didn't go through his head. It's not the bullet that killed him and had a very little bit of DNA, male DNA profile on it. But then the other one is the blood on the magazine inside the gun. So for a man who supposedly snapped and shot his wife twice, shot his daughter, and then shot himself, he's missing from this crime scene.
And I just want to show people what high velocity blood spatter looks like, because even on that rug, we should be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if it's just like one little area, but 4 people being shot, not 4 people, 3 people being shot at least 4 times, because that's what it states. We should be able to see at least something, and we're not seeing it.
We see
Yeah.
nothing.
I'm just trying to get it
Yeah.
to come up. Are you able to see that at all? That's
Yep,
what high
right there,
velocity
right there. It's
looks
perfect.
like.
Absolutely perfect. And you see, folks, that is what high velocity impact looks like. It sprays, as well as you do see droplets, but you see a fine mist spray pattern in there. That is not at the house at all.
Yeah, look through the crime scene photos. Feel free to do it. Let me show you what you're actually seeing in those crime scene photos. Hold on. Sorry.
Oh, no,
You're
that's
seeing
fine.
bat, medium velocity, and its impact.
Yep. And that is what we see. That's and this is why we're telling you, you really need to look into this on your own, because when you do, and when you really compare what should be there according to what the narrative is versus what is there, that's evidenced by the crime scene photos, they don't match. So that's really all I have to add tonight. And hopefully you guys, again, hopefully we've reiterated enough of this to let you know that David and Kamel and Rania are oftentimes missing. They're excluded, completely excluded from a mixture of 2 or more DNA samples that were found at the crime scene. So if they're excluded, who is included?
Correct.
Do you have anything else? Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and hopefully you guys will join us on the next video when we go over the list of items that were collected but not tested. So have a good night.
Good night.